Action, here we go. So welcome everybody to the Curry County Board of Commissioners meeting, Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. It's 9:01. We're going to get this started. I want to call to order, and I've asked Pastor Rory McGee to lead us in a word of prayer this morning. I'll invite everybody to pray with us. If you don't feel like that's appropriate for you, then you can step out. But Rory, come on up, and then we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. And
I want to thank everybody in the county for serving my family in church and schools and roads for the past 30 years we've lived here. You know, many are praying that the North Bank Road gets fixed, or we're praying for the new commissioner. I just want to mention that President Biden prayed again at our nation's annual prayer breakfast this month. For the past 70 years, our presidents have spoken and prayed and put aside politics to ask God for help. Biden prayed that we'd all, especially politicians, would get to know one another personally and respectfully. You want to agree with me in prayer? Father, we just ask your Holy Spirit to come today and rest upon us with all your love and wisdom. Lord, we thank you for all the servants here, for all those who faithfully show up every time. We ask your blessing and favor on everyone here in our county. May you keep, help, protect, preserve, and prosper our county. Lord, smile on us today. Be gracious, forgiving, give us peace. Amen.
Amen.
I just believe the Lord's healing some people today of dim vision and hearing loss. Just a good God. Thank you.
amen. Thank you, Rory. So let's stand, if you would, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is, and just prior to that, we're going to take a break at right around 10:30, depending on where we're at with the interviews. And then we'll break at between 12 and 1 for lunch. So I think it's going to be a longer meeting today, so it'll probably go till after 1, so just a heads up. So we'll do now the amendment / approval of the agenda. And there's a couple
I've got a couple of things.
items.
We need to take 5B and C off, and we'll get those back on the agenda when we've got the documentation to back them up.
Okay. Wow, so the meeting just got a little shorter.
Doing my part.
Yeah. 5B and C. Were you going to add to, Ted, the to consent agenda, the transportation development plan?
Yes, I would like to do that as well.
Okay, so HI on consent agenda is the Curry Public Transit Development Plan. We heard it at last meeting, and there was 3 things we voted on. We heard 3 things, but only voted on 2, so this is going into consent. And then I got a call yesterday from Rocky McVeigh about the AOCC. Commissioner Boyce was the representative for Curry County on that, and he asked who that is now, and I said, well, we didn't know.
Why don't we tail that in at the end of the meeting once we get somebody appointed? Then you guys can then, because it's
I'd just like to add
a really important thing.
Yeah. Because he said they're having a meeting the day after our next meeting, so March 2nd.
So we'll add that to discussion action.
So it'll be after the interviews, so it'll be 5B, right?
Right.
Okay. AOCC. So that's the Association of Oregon and California Counties. It's all about the timber. It's different than Association of Oregon Counties.
Right, so, and we would basically be assigning a commissioner to participate.
Yeah, and they're having a meeting, like I said, in Medford on that Tuesday, and he'd like to, that's why he's not saying don't do it the next on the 1st, but do it now, and so we can, it's quite a meeting. So anyway, so we got that done. Any more amendments, Brad?
No, I'm good.
Ted?
I'm fine.
JJ, you good? All right. So next up is public comments, and we're going to dive into those right now. Oh, okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, JJ, for that. I'll second that motion. Yes? All in favor say yes?
Yes.
I say yes, so motion carries 2-0. So now we're into public comments. Everybody gets 3 minutes. JJ's got a little timer, and there's a timer up at the podium, and Mary Rowe is first.
I'm Mary Rowe. I am here to speak about candidates who are applying to fill a vacant county commissioner seat. As candidates for office are public figures, I will make observations aloud for public figures. Since the position of county commissioner is nonpartisan, I hope that the only criteria for judging a candidate will be their suitability as a commissioner who can best serve the needs of our people at this time. As we are in 3 states of emergency and have a new commissioner, we are in desperate need of a recent commissioner to serve. There has been some infighting between our commissioners before this new year, but I hope that a double standard will not be imposed on a commissioner candidate due to any past differences, as all 3 commissioners behaved badly at times. We could benefit from appointing Christopher Pash at this time, as he knows the job and has skills that could be applied to various crucial projects, such as the replacement of our courthouse and jail. And Mr. Pash is from Central Curry County, and our citizens need a commissioner from Central or North County. I believe that Mary Pat Ludicky-Stallman has a lot of qualities and skills that would contribute to being a good commissioner. In my interactions with her, she has been professional, insightful, a good listener, and decision maker who implements plans that are in the best interest of the community. Mary Pat has a relevant master's degree and administrative experience. This BOC lacks expertise about human services, and Mary Pat would provide that component. Lastly, Brett Cecil has many wonderful qualities that would contribute to Brett being a good commissioner. But with considerable sadness, I cannot endorse him at this time due to his ignorance of the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act and his current lack of commitment to be steadily inclusive of disabled members of the Curry Democrats in compliance with the ADA while in his role as chair of the Curry Democrats. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is David Barnes.
Morning, David Barnes. I'm the county treasurer, but I'm speaking as a private citizen. I'm actually here to voice the concerns of my wife, Carol. It is now February 15th. It's just barely 3 months past the election. And after this morning, Curry County will have 5 out of 10 of our elected officials be appointed. That's the state senator, state representative, county commissioner, the county clerk, and the county tax assessor. It's only 3 months after the election. I really have to question what the point of elections is when everybody seems to be appointed nowadays. And there's only 5 of us elected to office anymore around here. And my wife is very concerned about this and just wanted me to bring this up and point it out to you all. There's nothing that can be done about it. This is state law and this is the way it gets done. But, elections are supposed to mean something. And right now it doesn't seem like they do to her. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Joy May is next. 20 Gear Circle, that brings back memories. I know where Gear Circle is, off of Arizona.
All right, in great old Port Orford. Yeah. So yes, that is where I'm from. And I'd like to speak to the commissioners today on the topic of selecting the new member for the Board of Commissioners. Because of the unique circumstances of this appointment, the citizens of Curry County will not have the opportunity to vote for who represents us as the 3rd commissioner for this term. Therefore, we are depending upon the 2 remaining commissioners to look beyond personal considerations, to look beyond partisanship and politics, and to look beyond representation from the most populous city and areas of our county, and to create a Board of Commissioners that truly represents all of Curry County. I know that there are many fine Curry citizens who have submitted a letter of interest for this appointment, and I do not envy you your task. But I do know one of the candidates that is before you, and that's Mr. Brett Cecil. I have watched Mr. Cecil work tirelessly for the benefit of this county and its citizens, all of its citizens. He believes in the ability to find solutions by working in partnership, and he believes that those with differing opinions can come together for the benefit of others and to create a successful future for our county. He will bring an excellent working knowledge of the northern part of the county, which is lacking in our Board of Commissioners, and he has traveled extensively throughout Curry, talking with the citizens, hearing their concerns, and working with them to find solutions. He is forward-thinking, creative, and thoughtful, with the energy and commitment to take on this responsibility. The voters will have their say once again in 2024, but today it is your responsibility. And I urge you as leaders in our county to take this unique opportunity to move our county forward and to establish a Board of Commissioners that is truly representative of entire Curry County. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take the time.
Next up is Mr. Freeman, and I'm going to Elihu. Say it again.
Elihu.
Elihu. Oh, that's not as hard as that.
The second choice, you had it.
Yeah, okay. Elihu Freeman, come on up.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a public notice of appeal of Curry County zoning STR ordinance article, section 4300, in its entirety to the Curry County Board of Commissioners from at least one individual within the class of STR businesses. In my brief research, Curry County appears to have knowingly and unknowingly violated many Oregon laws, and one instance under Oregon Law 215.130 pertaining to all existing grandfathered STR businesses prior to the creation of said STR ordinance. This is in line with the LUBA August 08, 2022 Lincoln County decision, pages 11 to 16. Therefore, Curry County, based upon the material facts, can be sued to refund not only the SDR permit fees, but any forced damages made to SDR properties under duress causing economic and emotional hardships. Secondly, the issue of action notice is a constitutional right that was also violated under state and federal laws by this commission allegedly on many occasions during the creation of said SDR. This now brings the community of SDR businesses to appeal this SDR ordinance in its entirety. Furthermore, LUBA can review only final land use decisions and limited land use decisions, and the violation of action notice is not a land use issue, but under the jurisdiction of a court of law. And within the scope, said SDR appeal to this Board of Commissioners today of this particular item prohibits any action or further action by LUBA under state law, which requires completion of all available local appeals before a notice of intent to appeal is filed at LUBA. You don't have to be an attorney to know judicial taxpayer conflict is in the horizon, and the county will have to pay tens of thousands of dollars along with fines and possible Class C misdemeanor violations to said persons in their official and unofficial capacities. SDR businesses owners, in my opinion, cannot wait until the new commissioners get up to speed when the planning department is threatening to end their livelihood within the next 30 days. In conclusion, action today is required or said class of SDR citizens will act accordingly under pressure from said board per the planning department. Respectfully, Mr. Freeman, resident of Gold Beach, Oregon, and thank you.
Thanks, Elihu.
Just so you know, Mr. Herzog, I talked to Mr. Freeman yesterday, and I forwarded him the LUBA appeal that was sent to them, and I also forwarded that to County Council.
Okay.
And make him aware of it, so everybody's in the same group right now.
Okay.
I want to thank Alcorn for respectfully and quickly giving me those documents. It helped to formulate something that we need very particularly because the planning department is pressuring everyone within a certain amount of time to get it done, and it's going to hurt in the future. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Ed Schreiber is next. Affectionately known as Mr. Ed.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. for having me. Ed Schreiber, City of Brookings Council President. You're popular today.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like some of the meetings we've had at City of Brookings lately. So, yeah, I did pray for you this morning to God that you'd have a big decision today. So, really hoping that you seek wisdom on that, and look forward to welcoming the new commissioner, whoever it is. The reason I came up here today is to just formally, publicly announce that I was appointed last month by the City of Brookings to be the official liaison to Curry County.
Okay.
So I think both of you have my contact information, but please feel free to pass that along to any department heads, anybody that needs something from the city. Be happy to work with them.
Okay.
And lastly, I think both commissioners are aware of a potential workforce housing development adjacent to the Port of Brookings Harbor. As a member of the County Budget Committee, I'd like to just lend my personal support to that. I've talked to Planning Director Crockett. I've been talking to Jenny Williams from the hospital. Really excited about this. Hopefully we can work together to help make it happen. So I appreciate that.
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Bonnie Pash is next.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Pash, and from Gold Beach, and I'm just here. I'm not good at speaking, but to support my husband and to share a few things that you guys might not know that me as a wife does. My husband, for the 4 years that he served, passionately got up and was off to work at 7:40 out the door and worked every day pretty much, 5 days a week, sometimes didn't come home until after 8. He would have ran for re-election, but I think as everybody knows, that it was a problem with him and the past commissioner. And I want to share one of those things. I remember one day, because he was so passionate about getting the courthouse rebuilt, and he would talk to me about that. One day he came home and he was so excited because he had all these goals. He's a goal man. He gets stuff done. And he came home and he said, honey, I can't believe it. I just got a notice that we get $3 million to build a new courthouse. And he had worked so hard putting in all the paperwork, talking to people for hours on this, and it was a big goal for him. Then I watch him at the next commissioners meeting, and Court Boyce jumps up there and says, oh, hey, we got all this money. Never gave my husband one bit of credit, which he would never say that. And I'm like, honey, why didn't you stand up? That was your project. And he said, I'm not going to do that because I'm not a bragger. And he's a humble man. And so I sit there and watch the next meeting as Court Boyce goes and says, no, I need to be in control of this situation. I want to know what's going on. The guy had gotten hold of my husband and said, hey, I only want to talk to one person. And I'm like, honey, this is your project. Why didn't you do it? He goes, because I care more about the project. And I'm not going to stand up and ruin the project over a fight between the other commissioner. So I just want to say that's who my husband is. And he got a lot done while he was in office. And I think it's a darn shame that I know he pretty much, I'm certain he would have been reelected if he would have ran. He's had a lot of support and got so many things done. And I think it's a real shame that if he doesn't get picked for this position, now that he has an opportunity to finish what he started, because maybe somebody doesn't, I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just passionate about this.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Because we love our county, and we want to see our county flourish.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Dina Lyons is next.
Okay. Well, good morning. Dina Lyons from Brookings, and a lot of you know me. So I'd like to kind of begin with a statement. Be brave and do something. So there's a couple of heroes that we know about in our world if we know anything about history. One of those was, since I guess we're in Black History Month, Rosa Parks. We all know about her. She took a law that was harmful, dangerous, and degrading and changed it by doing one thing. She has a quote that says, to bring about change, you must never be afraid to take the first step. We will fail when we fail to try. There's another one of my heroes, two of them, Oskar Schindler and Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Hopefully you all know who they are. Many more women and men that saved a lot of Jewish lives were rescued in the spite of a law that harmed, distracted, and proved dangerous. Their children, grandchildren are proof of this bravery. My brother-in-law, his 3 brothers, and my nephew are proof of that. They're all Jewish, and they are proof of that. Their grandpa was a child when all this happened in Auschwitz. And he never talked about it and went to his grave not talking about it, but raised 3 beautiful boys. So my question to you is, are you going to be brave and hire someone that's going to care about our community? Or are you guys going to elect someone that you get along with? You don't have to be friends. It would be nice if you could get along and understand and respect one another. That's important. But the 3 of you, whoever the 3 of you will be the only ones that need to respect one another. Not anybody out there, not anybody anywhere else. So if you can just take the 3 of you, and my vote would be for Chris Pash. He came to me to the library when we were trying to do some things there, and he's always available when I talk. Same thing with Brad. So that's what I'm asking, is bring somebody in that has the passion to do something. And now that you 3, just the 3 of you, get along. That's all. Don't get any outside information from other people. Just get along. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Gary Carter is next. Hi, Gary.
Morning. My name's Gary Carter. I born in this city, 1969. My dad was a sheriff's deputy here when I was born. When we were 3, I moved to Alaska. I grew up there, 21 years total, and I've been back since 1998. I've seen a lot of growth in this community. I've seen a lot of stuff get held up in this community. I've always been passionate about helping people, being there for people, being a servant to people. And I think my record while I worked for the road department and other places, I think that spoke for itself. I know a number of people that are on the list for commissioner. The one that I would put my name behind would be Chris Pash. He's been a servant ever since he got here. He's been there for not only the citizens, he's been there for the children, he's been there for the veterans, he's been there for just the community projects and community service that I would like to see in a commissioner. Every time I've come in this, I can't say every time, 90+% of the time that I've come in here, he's been the only commissioner down here. JJ can attest to that. How many times have I come down, JJ? Quite a few. So, I'd like to put my vote behind somebody that's going to be, and we can't vote. That's the whole thing. We can't vote. I'd have faith in you guys that you put your vote to somebody that is going to be here for you, going to be here for the community, going to work with you, going to have an open mind, going to have a servant mind. There was something else I wanted to say. Should have wrote a speech, but we already have, both of you are from south. We need somebody north, central or north. Chris is central, so I think that would do good for spreading it out a little bit, being there and a local person for some of the local community. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Dallin is up next.
My name's Dallin. I'm a local person, entertainer, handyman. Brought my light in case the power goes out. I just never know these days. And I'm also a Marine. I might not look like I'm not active duty, but I volunteered and served my time. And so has the person I'm endorsing. Mr. Christopher Pash is also a Marine. And therefore, there's training involved. If you're going to survive boot camp, you better learn discipline and how to follow orders. I've known Christopher and his wife for a few years now. They have a wonderful ranch, in which they do a lot of good for children and horses and people. Experience matters, and Chris has experience as one of the commissioners. I believe another one of his projects was dredging, getting the dredging done in our river, and that takes a lot of paperwork and everything to get that stuff done. To the best of my knowledge, the two commissioners here have to agree in order to pick the third one, and if you don't, I think it goes up to the governor? Is that kind of how it works? Okay, so I would like to see Chris back in there, working in harmony with you three, and in the future, I hope we have 5 commissioners to spread it out. I know we tried that a few years ago. It failed, but that way it'd be better. 3, only you need 3 people to pass something instead of just 2. And we have a big county here. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people, but there's a lot of land, and we need to work it properly. It should be self-sustaining with all our natural resources. But there's a lot of issues that need to be dealt with in Curry County, as we all know. Crime rising, homelessness, and of course the housing crisis, inflation, etc., etc. And so decisions need to be made that are wise and for the good of all, not just the party, but what's good for citizens of Curry County, Oregon, our country. And so I pray that you do agree on Christopher Pash. Thank you.
Thanks, Dylan. All right, that's the end of public comments. We will now move to consent agenda. I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended with the addition of the transit development plan.
And I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended with the addition of the transient plan.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? I don't think there is. Hearing none. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
I say yes, so motion carries 2-0. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are at discussion action items. A is commissioners' applicants' presentations. There's going to be 5 minutes per person. We've got a big cup over there with everybody's name in it. We're going to just pull a name at it. Okay, what's up, Eric? Your mic's on?
It's on.
Can you? Is he not coming through, Eric? So the people who submitted letters of interest are in alphabetical order. They are Brett Cecil, Val Early, Glenn Falls, David Gauntlet, Terry Hughes, Mary Pat Lutke Stallman, James McDonald, David Mednatsky, Christopher Pash, Carl Popoff, Jay Trost, and David Womack. So we're just gonna...
Okay, I'll just give a little quick rundown so that we're all on the same page. This is as Commissioner Boyce has filled the role in the legislature. We have a 2-year opening that is provided for by the appointment of a replacement, and that power of appointment is vested solely in the 2 sitting remaining commissioners. We do not have wards or districts in this county, so there is no geographical requirements or restriction regarding any appointment. So any bona fide resident who has met the requirements to apply can do so. We have these 12 people. Everybody has 5 minutes to speak. I brought this cup and I put the names in that Rabia made them legible. I will grab something here and we will start. First name is Christopher Pash.
Good morning.
Morning.
Let me get my technology up to speed. First, I'd like to make a brief statement about the process. I'd like to open my statement with the following. Not intending any of this at the board, but it seems to me the process may be a little unfair to the voters of Curry County. As has been demonstrated over the last several weeks, we select vacant seats in our government of elected officials through the process of PCPs. Recently, now Senator David Brock Smith and now House Representative Court Boyce replaced outgoing members through the PCP process, allowing the elected representatives for each district in Curry County to voice their opinion on who should be placed in those seats, and that list be given to the commissioners in those various counties. It has also been asked of me, I would hope that one day that law could be changed, and it might go down to the county as well, county commissioners. I've also been asked by several people, as you've already heard, to repeat both commissioners currently seated are from Brookings, and I would hope that you would take that into consideration in your decisions. I am here today to offer to fill the vacancy created by Court Boyce's resignation. For those of you that know me, you know it has always been my intention to serve in whatever manner I can. As stated many times, I was always going to run for re-election until the past board began to deteriorate, and it was a weekly struggle to get through our meetings, much less the day-to-day things that are required to run this county. I didn't feel as though I could manage effectively with the state of the board at that time. With the current change that has just occurred, it makes getting back to work in Curry County a much easier task. I can remember meeting with you, Commissioner Herzog, shortly after you were elected and talking to you about the situation in the county. Months later, you came to me and said that I hit the nail right on the head with everything that we discussed. Someone told me the other day that there's great value in experience. As I'm sure Brad is now learning, it takes time to get up to speed on things going on in the county. Some say as much as 2 years. Again, you both know me, John through our past 2 years here on the board, and Brad as we got to know each other through Sheriff Ward and my asking you to run for my seat because I wouldn't be returning to the same board that I left. I'm a nuts and bolts kind of person. I'm very straightforward and to the point. Through my home life, as a child, and my entire life since, I have always faced everything in my life head on, willing to take on the biggest challenges without ever letting it overwhelm me. There's a lot of work to be done to fund our Sheriff's Department in perpetuity, to find housing for all facets of life through living wage jobs, our veterans, and our seniors. As we have seen through the TLT that we put in on the ballot in my first year of office, the huge changes that that decision made. Look now at economic development through that and the money that we are putting into the fairgrounds and our sheriff's department. Small decisions have big consequences in this county. The work done to clean out the river this past year through trips to Washington and meetings with our port and other organizations has done wonders for the county and this river. And also the veterans organizations that I belong. I'm actually a presidential vice appointment as a vice chair to NACO, which is a national organization to improve our life for veterans. And now there's our courthouse and our jail. I know that's a long shot, but it's worth the work to try. After speaking with the Chief Justice of Oregon last year and filling out all the documents, we received $3.5 million to do the study. Again, it is stalled, but I will pick up that work. I believe in a hand up, as Commissioner Alcorn said in his run-up as a commissioner, not a handout for the less fortunate, and we have proven that through our foundation at our ranch. I'm a red-blooded American through and through. I will never waver in that. I fully believe in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. I believe in a strong military. I believe in respect. I believe in decency. I believe in our flag and our Lord and Savior. You know me, and you know a lot of things I have worked on and gotten accomplished here as I promised I would before I was ever elected. I'm not a yes man that others can walk up to and tell me what I need to do. I will always and have always vote for the best outcome for the majority of our citizens in Curry County. Thank you.
David Mednansky.
The man with two last names.
Yes, almost. I've even had it pronounced McDwansky, believe it or not.
Okay.
Even though it's M-E-D-N-A-N-S-K-Y. My name is David Mendansky, as your attorney mentioned. I live in Gold Beach, about 3 miles south over on 80 Acres Road. I've been here for about 2 years, and during the 2 years, I found it's really a wonderful place. I like the people. I was a little bit unfortunate because a neighbor of mine was not from here, and he was from a big city back east, and I learned that he wanted to change things around here, and I think that's kind of wrong. You guys have a good place. I originally spent 40 years living in San Diego, and I saw it for lazy little sleepy community by the border, which the city council decided to change. They built roads, they advertised in the cities, newspapers back east, and the people came. And it came from a place where you didn't have to lock your door at night to a place where full of pollution, traffic congestion, and people coming from other places wanting to change everything. Getting to the point with you guys, I understand I've had a lot, I'm being retired as the CEO and chairman of the board of a nonprofit scientific research institute. I have a background in law, a 16-year member of the Federalist Society. And when I look at the situation here, being retired, I had a lot of interaction with local people. And the reason why I'm here is because to serve and to lead, but it was also stimulation by a couple of local peoples. One of the persons you probably know, Melvin Traver. Out of the clear blue sky a few months ago, he just, in some discussions we had, he said, you know, you would make a good commissioner. And I passed, and I thought, but nobody knows me. He said, well, that doesn't make a difference. And then more recently, when I told another local person who owns the sawmill just north of town, the Metcalf family, that there was an opening, Court Boyce was leaving, and he said, well, why don't you do it? And again, I said, well, nobody knows me. Well, then I thought about that for a few days, and it wasn't until just a few days before the deadline was here that I decided to apply. And I decided to apply because I reflected on what they saw in me that would make me a good commissioner. And I think what I can say to you is, I understand your background, Commissioner Herzog, as a UPS and a carpenter, I think, a long time ago. Mr. Alcorn, I know that you were in Fresno. A friend of mine used to be a lawyer over in Fresno. I know a little bit about that area. He was a lawyer representing the Hmong people over there. And I understand you were also a detective. And that's an interesting perspective, because you have to read people. You have to have an instinct more than just a guy on the beat doing his job. Now I understand you were with the council in Brookings, so you have that kind of experience. And I think what's good about how you've evolved is that now that you're retired but going into this, that instead of dealing with what is, the crimes and the people doing things, now you have a chance to help try to prevent that, because you work with legislation to help people to try to prevent them from getting into drugs and things like that cause crime. So after evaluating what I could from both of you from the internet, I decided that, yes, I would go ahead and apply. I think I can work with you guys very well. In fact, I know I can. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Hughes.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Hughes, and those are kind of hard acts to follow. I'm interested in the position number 3 for Board of Commissioners. I'm here today because I love Curry County, and I have for a long time. I grew up here. I spent the better part of 30 years here, raised my family here. My grandparents owned property on 80 Acres Road, ran the 76 station. My mom was a local in hospitality and services. My grandma worked at the Champion Mill. As an adult, I volunteered in many facets of the community, starting in my early 20s as with the Port Orford Ambulance, emergency services, school programs, beach cleanups. I moved to Lane County about 10, 12 years ago, and there I volunteered in veteran services, trained with the Egan Warming Centers for unhoused, and currently I'm part of the board for reviving the Port Orford Jubilee. So I have a natural instinct to serve the community. I've always had a sense to serve. Now, I don't have any fancy degrees. I don't have 25 years doing anything except for life. I've raised kids, I've ran businesses, I've worked multiple jobs to make sure that those businesses ran smoothly. I've been the budget keeper. I've had to be creative when there's shortfalls and emergencies. Some of my experiences include dispatching, teaching at Beauty College. If you ever want to see a viper pit, go to a beauty college. Yeah. Real estate, and as I said, running my own businesses. All of these experiences have one thing in common. It's raw emotion, growth, and humans. And if I was an expert in anything, I would say I'm an expert in nothing, but I know a little bit about humans. So now I can't solve all of Curry County's problems in 5 minutes, nor will I try, but I have about 900 pages of notes of ways that I'd like to propose to help. And even if you don't choose me, I'll still give you those notes. So I'm a networker, I'm a problem solver, I'm creative. Like many other communities in Oregon and all over, we're facing housing shortages and lack of services for our veterans and our seniors, mental health. Our schools are declining. The Port Orford School District, their senior class this year has 3 students. So our future is important to me. We have a huge drug epidemic, as many communities do in Oregon. We combine lack of services, resources, lack of budget. We need to get creative. And when we have a lack of those services and resources, we put a huge strain on our law enforcement and our emergency services. Honestly, that scares me. Almost more than standing up here in front of everybody today. Scares me for our officers who are responding to calls 30 and 40 minutes out in the middle of nowhere with antiquated equipment and no cell service. I'd like to see something done about that. I really do like the idea of a bigger justice system here and finding the proper ways to budget that in. Curry County needs to start getting creative. We need to start thinking outside the box, how we're going to make this budget work and how we're going to build this budget from here on out, because not that things are getting slimmer, but we're not seeing a big plus in our budget either. I have a lot of more questions probably than answers that could be brought today to attention. You know, are we taxing transported goods being transported through our county? Are we taxing things like seafood that are actually leaving our county and harvested here? Are we looking in the right places for budgets shortfalls? I know nobody likes the TNL tax and levy words, but I have a lot more ideas, such as creating businesses for the county. Ooh, I'm running out of time here, and I have a lot more notes, so I'm just going to get to it. I come here I have no favors owed, and I have no preconceived notions or biases about how things are run. I'm a pretty smart gal, and I move up to speed pretty good. I think I'd be a good candidate for this position. We need services. We need out-of-the-box ideas. We need somebody that's going to be working for our community Monday through Friday, Saturday through Tuesday, all the days. So I'm here, and I'd love to be a choice for that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Also, by the way, on the topic of, we were discussing asking questions of the candidates. We can do that afterwards. I felt like it would be it seemed like it would be an unfair advantage to be doing it right now.
Okay.
So, okay, next one is James McDonald.
Good morning, James McDonald from Port Orford. Happy to be here. Been a landowner and homeowner in Curry County for the last almost 10 years, but I keep a pretty low profile. My wife and I have been involved in the military, and I was in law enforcement for a number of years, just retired last month, so you'll indulge my growing a beard for a change. It hasn't happened in 36 years. So. Like I said, I'm happy to be here. I think that I have a uniquely qualified resume and background to be able to assist this county. And I have a servant's heart. I've been serving my state, my city, my nation for 36 years at different levels. You know, I know what it's like to get up here and feel the nerves, and it happens. I read a book a long time ago called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And then I joined law enforcement and arrested people that were way bigger than me and tougher than me and still did it. And then I went to war in Iraq and came back. And now you got a new group of people, just one neighborhood over, and you get the jitters all over again. It's great. You know, I know that I sent you my resume already, but just to recap, you know, serving at different levels gives you a different experience. You can work your whole life at a local level, and then you need to interact with different types of individuals, and it takes some doing, and I've done that all the way up to the national level. Fought wildfires, and it's just, all my experience has given me the perspective that I think you need with this county, and I'm excited to try to do that. I read your 5 goals for this county. I think they're admirable, and I think it starts at home. You know, finances, integrity, logistics, and infrastructure are all so important, and if you're not doing it right at home, how are you going to do it at county level? And my wife and I have walked away from marriages, and I don't owe anybody anything today because of our work ethic, our savings, our living within our means, and I think that applies on a county level as well. So I'd be excited to work with you both and with this county. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Jonathan J. Trost.
Commissioners, thank you. I seek appointment to the Board of Commissioners because I'm deeply indebted to this community. The community has embraced me and my family since day one. And our community is passionate, generous, kind. However, being passionate can oftentimes be a carriage that leads to some level of division. And that can lead to communication gaps and people operating in silos. I feel that the person in this leadership role must have the ability to respect each other's passions, even when they differ, to inquire about them, to learn about them, to debate them, but ultimately respect them. Understand that a person's passions may be different, but it doesn't have to affect your relationship with them or your view of them. I want to be a part of this board because I feel that I can contribute to this culture. I also believe that once a culture of respect, dignity, passion is fully realized, the counties thrive. The county thrives. Thriving is the combination of being entrusted to act and being accountable for those actions. I believe that I can add value to this board by listening to our communities, identifying the needs, collaboratively seeking out solutions, and creating plans. Finally, accountability for these plans is vital to sustaining trust and a productive culture. Accountability isn't always about having the hard talk, but it requires it. It's not always about admitting our mistakes, but it requires it. Accountability is ownership of action, ensuring every department is supported with intentionality, then expected to succeed, holding each other accountable to those successes, and being inspired enough not to accept status quo as progress. I view the principal responsibility of this role is to listen to the community, to best manage the resources that the BOC is entrusted to oversee, to provide county departments with fiscally responsible budgets to best serve our citizens, then expect those departments to use those resources responsibly and provide the best service possible within those budgets. This room is filled with incredibly knowledgeable and experienced individuals. I know that there is a lot that I don't know. So I can't say that I'm uniquely qualified in any one way. I will say that my experiences have shaped my knowledge, and those experiences come from my involvement in county government, city government, school board governance, being the director of a large private organization, and a small business owner. In addition to those experiences, I have a school-age child. That directly exposes me to the needs of the families that are facing today with childcare, education needs, recreational opportunities, etc. However, these experiences have given me knowledge on governance and budgeting, leading, supervising, managing, evaluating, training, relationships with law enforcement through my time as the juvenile director with all the law enforcement agencies. Because as you know, the juvenile director, again, was in charge of overseeing all juvenile resources for the county. The educational system. My time as the vice chair of CCH gave me incredible knowledge over our mental and public health. I was the parks director. Currently, I work in Public Works as a director in the city of Brookings. I've overseen grants, MOUs, IGAs, public and private contracts, worked with state and federal departments, DEQ, DSL, ODF&W, Army Corps of Engineers, and worked on several different capital projects. Regardless of your decision, I just want to say that it's inspiring to see so many incredible individuals dedicated to want to serve the county, and I know that whatever decision is made, the county is in good hands. Thanks.
Thank you.
David Gauntlet.
Commissioners and everyone else in the room. My name is Dave Gauntlet. I guess I was a little naive. I didn't expect to stand up here and essentially give a political speech, but I'm going to have to whip one together quite rapidly, so I'm going to do the best I can. And my first is a cop-out, and that is simply because I have heard such great ideas from, I suppose you could say, my competitors. So I agree, most of the above. My roots in Curry County run 6 generations deep. My great-grandfather was sheriff of the county in 1880 and served as a county clerk for many years. All the way back to the founders. My great-grandfather was a Windsor from Port Orford, sitting in the Titchener Cemetery. My dad, my mom, and so forth sitting in the Pioneer Cemetery, and there's no room left there, so I hope to go to Arlington, but they won't let me, Sexton won't let me sleep there. But I love this county, and I grew up here. My dad was born in Pista River, went off to war, and came back when I was 2, and I was here during the boom years, and went K to 12 in Gold Beach schools, graduated in 1966, and then off to Vietnam. In terms of Oregon roots, I have lived in and owned houses in Salem, Lane County, where I became a certified appraiser. That might be of some use. Drain, Klamath Falls, and others. I have owned a business in Oregon, and I pretty much know how things work. I'm not a politician. I'm a problem solver. I retired from the United States Army in '94, but I went into it after I returned from Vietnam by joining the Oregon Air National Guard, working for the state of Oregon at Kingsley Field, and ended up on active duty in the National Guard of Indiana, where I gravitated to in due course. And went through several assignments in the Army, including my favorite was instructing ROTC at Indiana University. My final job was as the Army National Guard liaison to the Chief of Staff of the Army, where we prepared, and my job was to submit a $6 billion annual budget to operate the National Guard. And of course, they didn't develop that alone. There's piles of ways to get there, but I was kind of the final stepping stone. Once I graduated, I formed a business in Northern Virginia, having been at the Pentagon, specializing in research and analysis, primarily focused on military personnel matters. after that, then I worked for another company until I finally moved back to Gold Beach in 2014. And we did work for Army National Guard, Army Reserve, and other DOD components in problem solving. So I'm not a politician, but what I am is a problem solver. That I know. I was trained by the military in operations research, systems analysis, and that job entails analyzing how processes work and applying a problem-solving method to finding solutions to those problems, starting with identification of the problems with data, not opinion, numbers, not guesses, facts, not politics. And I offer Curry County that 50 years of service coming out of retirement to serve once more. I cannot think of a better place in my life to finish up my life than right here in the county I love. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Val Early.
Chair Herzog, Vice Chair Alcorn, thank you for your service to the citizens of Curry County. I appreciate this opportunity to speak on behalf of my letter of interest. I grew up on a dairy in Grants Pass, and I've been a resident of Curry County since 1995. But I've been working in Curry County since 1984, fishing all the beautiful rivers that America's Wild Rivers coast have to offer. I've spent a lot of time on the Agnes stretch of the Rogue, and having grown up in Grants Pass, the Rogue is a very special river to me. I also spent a lot of time in Port Orford on the Elk and the Sixes, and of course most of my time has been spent on the Chetco River. As I became more involved with family and community, Curry County rivers, natural resources, and all these communities, these coastal communities have to offer became my focus. I don't feel like I just live here. This is my home, and I'm honored to call a wide variety of residents my friends. As the daughter of a banker, I learned to be fiscally responsible, not just for my own money, but for any monies I may be responsible for on behalf of an organization or a business. I also believe this is one of the leading obligations of a commissioner, to run our county responsibly, with transparency, and to spend money on behalf of the taxpayers within our limits, while first and foremost providing the mandated services. My service on the Oregon State Marine Board required analysis and evaluation of budgets, grant applications, hiring procedures, and legislative concepts. When I was appointed by Governor Kitzhaber in 2012, we were tasked with some really big changes to benefit the stakeholders and the customers. Transparency was a big issue. Service was a big issue. Becoming a team with a consistent message was a big issue. And during the past 10 years on the Marine Board, including a director change that I was fortunate to be the lead for, we've fine-tuned those goals and the strategic plan as well as benchmarks. As chair, I was able to successfully go through several changes, reduce the amount of time in a meeting, as well as increase public participation. As a business owner, I've worked with many small businesses, guides, agencies, all very independent, with compassion while providing direction. One of the lessons I've learned over time is that it's important to keep business relationships solid. It's okay to be friendly and approachable to employees, but it's equally important to have a manager-employee relationship to keep things moving in a positive direction. I feel it's important to have clear, transparent goals for all departments. And this is where board direction can be most beneficial in guiding the change needed to reinforce the overall goals and mission. Holding employees responsible for goals and consistency will lead to efficient outcomes and increased satisfaction with citizens, taxpayers, and visitors. I've been the budget officer for the Winchuck Rural Fire Protection District, and I take fiscal responsibility for taxpayer funds very seriously.
I've had the opportunity to be involved with several law enforcement agencies and have the utmost respect for the challenges faced by our law enforcement partners. I feel we are at a critical juncture in what we ask of our law enforcement partners. Supporting this is crucial to me, especially now with the seriousness of fentanyl, which is huge, heroin, and other drugs in our communities. Safety within our communities is vital to creating a desirable location for not only residents, but visitors as well. Public trust and safety go hand in hand. I've been very involved in several different organizations to benefit children, teens, young adults. Helping kids see what's available to them and how to deal with varying issues is even more important now since COVID. My time as a school volunteer has been very beneficial. Our unique ecosystem and natural resources are what set Curry County apart. It's vitally important to keep our lumber industry, commercial fishing industry, tourism, and all the businesses that rely on these industries healthy. These same industries, vital to our economy, could be impacted by the federally mandated wind energy projects. There's so many things to talk about. I didn't think 5 minutes was going to be that short, but it is. So I'd like to take the time to just kind of summarize what I've been saying. I consider Curry County, all parts of Curry County, my home. I'm fiscally responsible. I have management skills. I embrace the adopted strategic plan goals for Curry County. I support law enforcement. I have a desire to serve and am cognizant of the issues. I'm a good listener with the ability to remain calm in stressful situations, and I feel like I could work with you very well. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Val.
Thanks, Val.
Glen Falls.
Good day, guys. I applied for this position of commissioner because I'm a recent member of the Curry community. I've only been here 4.5 years. I moved up here after I retired, working in law enforcement almost 40 plus years down in the Central California. I think I bring a unique experience and expertise to this type of position. I own my own business for over 20 years, dealing with mainly rehabilitation of houses in underprivileged areas. A lot of work with HUD and with Section 8 in order to provide for the underprivileged people in the community I lived in. It was a good thing for the community. It was a good thing for myself. I got a lot of expertise in carpentry and repair work, and it's served me well over the years. As a sheriff's deputy, I was a deputy and a sergeant, and worked patrol, corrections, the court system. So I have a real broad base. I've watched the system from its inception all the way through to incarceration. And it gives me a unique perspective of how the system works and its pitfalls. I was a homicide detective and an elder abuse detective for years, and handling most complex cases in the county where I lived. I was a school officer, and in that capacity, I was writing grants, supervising grants, and had a lot of expertise in dealing with the public, making school plans, school safety plans, even did a little coaching and stuff on the side just for a way of helping out the communities where I worked. I honestly think that in these smaller towns, the schools are the core. That's the hub where people get together, where information is shared, and working with the schools in the past. I haven't been able to do a whole lot up here because of issues with my parents, but working with them, I have a good understanding of how that particular system works as well. When I was I worked for the crime prevention unit. I was in charge of that for several years, and while there I was on the Neighborhood Watch Board, which was a 501c3, and worked closely with them. I've worked with CDBG and COPS grants, getting additional personnel and implementing those. I also was a principal player in writing the school safety program for our schools once the money from DARE and GRADE and other programs dried up, so we developed our own. I think that we're dealing with a crisis as far as drug abuse in this particular community. The housing situation is not great. The homeless transient population is quite severe, especially in the summertime. And I think all of that needs to be addressed, and I think they're all somewhat tied together. I really do. The fact that you have people that are, in a bad way with drugs. I saw the other day where they were sitting there going, "Oh, we've got the solution. It's Narcan." Narcan is not a solution. That's a Band-Aid approach at best. Unfortunately, a lot of times when they give Narcan to an addict, it actually makes them mad. I've watched it happen many, many, many times. They get mad because they're taking their high away from them. I think the position of commissioner, you're going to be required to make very difficult decisions at times. I'm a straight shooter. I listen to the facts. I listen to people. I think transparency is the key on any of these operations. I really like the direction this board is going. The fact that things are much more transparent and out there where people know what's going on, and additional meetings with people and getting their opinions on things, I think is important. Somebody talked about the windmills. That's a major concern of mine. I mean, we're dealing with the whole livelihood of this county is tied to those wind turbines out there, if it eventually comes into play. I mean, the fishing industry could be severely impacted. The tourism industry could be severely impacted. We're only going to have lumber left by the time it's done. And what happens when those turbines start pushing the fog and the clouds that are normally over the ocean, start pushing them into the areas where we're foggy all the time? We just don't know what all the ramifications are going to be, but it's not going to be good, and we're not going to benefit from them. The energy is much too expensive, and it's going to go other places. I think one of the things I was thinking of, is it time, or is this thing just keeping for the heck of it? Okay.
It's time.
In closing, I just want to sit there and say, I would make a really good commissioner. I'm forthcoming and very honest person, and hope for the best. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Carl Popov.
Well, good morning, commissioners and everyone here. I want to thank you for this time to begin with. My family does not go back as far as the gentleman right over there, yes. But it does go back about 100 years. I grew up in Coos County. My mother was born in Lakeside. My dad, or not my dad, but my uncle was born in North Bend. My grandfather was a foreman on the crew that built the Old Coast Highway during the 1920s. And they also lived in Brookings. For 16 years, I've been the mayor of Gold Beach. I oversaw us going out of the red and into the black. It was a difficult time, but we made it, and we went through it, and we stuck with it. I spent 15 years as a county jail chaplain, 13 years
in uniform in the service of our nation, including 2 tours in Vietnam. I was a police officer in the military, city, and county. Not for a great deal of time, but nevertheless, I do have that experience, and I do, of course, support law enforcement 100%. In 2006, I was chosen as the mayor of the year for small cities in the state of Oregon. I have a master's degree of divinity as far as education is concerned. And about 3 years ago, to give you an idea of what I do stand for, I took on ORCA, which I had to be a member of the board then, and the Black Lives Matter organization. Now, it cost me a bit, but what really cost me, or what really dismayed me, was that there were no, at that time, public officials that stood with me. It seemed as if many were taking a knee to them. Nevertheless, despite all the social media comments concerning me and what a cretin I was, I stood by my ground. And I do believe that I have been proven right in these 3 years. I wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, this body, the Board of Commissioners, is exceptionally important to the welfare of this county. In the past, and I think someone alluded to it before, but this is something that I have long stated and long observed. We've had a difficult time getting commissioners to work together to instill that confidence in the population that we have here in Curry County. It is imperative to me, at least my way of thinking, that we have 3 members that respect one another, they can work together with one another, and present a united effort. And I think that'll go a long way in instilling the confidence of Curry County in the leadership of Curry County. We're in these are really difficult times in many ways. We've got an assault going on our values and our morals and our principles. That assault is not going to end or be limited by the Willamette Valley. We see it here as well too, and it is encroaching upon us. Strong leadership can prevent that. I think my record is pretty much evident. I've had a lot of service to this county. I've served on a lot of county boards. I've served on a lot of state boards. Is my time up? With that in mind, thank you very much, and Lord be with you in your decision. Thank you.
I didn't want to ambush anybody and give anybody too much of an advantage. So at this point, I'm going to let everybody know that we're going to ask all the applicants to come back and answer one question once everybody's made their presentation. And we talked about 3 minutes for each one of that. The question's pretty straightforward. It's a hybrid question. It says, what are the problems that you see Curry County has, and how will you fix them? So I just wanted that way you guys we still have 3 more people to present, and then everybody can be thinking about that, and I feel like that'd be a little bit more, it'll just be a little more even-handed way to approach that. So, the question is, what are the biggest problems that facing Curry County, and how will you solve them? Okay?
We'll do 2 more and take a break.
Brett Cecil.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for this opportunity to stand in front of you today. Commissioner Alcorn may not know me as well. Commissioner Herzog, we have met before. We've worked together here in this chamber. I just briefly wanted to give some background on myself. In my early adult life, I worked as a veterinary assistant, so I'm an animal lover. And I also, in the following years to that, worked in human medicine. So I do have some background in human medicine as well.
What do you like best? Oh, I shouldn't.
I like them both best.
Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted, and I apologize.
We'll forego the question. We can pick that up later. I've also worked in aerospace as a computer operator and word processor and technical document administrator. And more recently, owned a small farm and ranch, chicken and goat ranch in Ukiah, California. So I'm from Port Orford, pardon me for not mentioning that, and I came to Oregon about 6 years ago, nearly 6 years ago now, and I thought I was going to adopt a new place, move to a new place, and find somewhere to call home, moving out of California and coming north to Oregon. I had friends here, but I quickly learned that Oregon adopted me. So we have a very friendly county, and Port Orford especially, not that Gold Beach and Brookings aren't friendly places, but Port Orford was especially friendly to me. And so I've made that my home, and I continue to live there and plan on staying there for quite some time. I also don't, I believe that you have a very difficult task to do today. We have some really qualified people that live in our county, some really intelligent people, and I've said it in this chamber more than a couple of times, that our county has some really, really thoughtful, intelligent people, and if we can manage to get us all together, I think we can solve pretty much anything. So that being said, I've come before you today with my interest in seeking your consideration for appointment to the vacant position of the Board of Commissioners created by the absence or the appointment of Commissioner Boyce to the Oregon State House as our new state representative. As a nearly 6-year resident of Port Orford, I've developed an interest and understanding of the people, businesses, and local government bodies of our county and have a strong desire to serve the public in this important position. I've also had the pleasure of meeting, knowing, and interacting with our current state representative Boyce and State Senator Smith. I do share everyone's concern, or most everyone's concern that I've heard here today, about our situation with voting and having a say in who our representatives are going to be. I think representation matters. I think it's very important. So I do want to keep that in mind. And again, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, having to make this choice. I bring capabilities that include outreach, communication, relationship building, and a desire to serve all citizens of Curry County. My recent experience includes work with non-governmental organizations and individuals in Coos, Curry, and Douglas counties. I'm currently the chair of the Curry County Democrats. Additionally, during the 2022 election cycle, I experienced the honor and the pleasure of participating in our state's elective process as a ballot nominee in Coos, Curry, and Douglas counties. I had that honor while Mr. Alcorn was also running his campaign, so we got to see each other a little bit in some of the forums. I'll provide a unique and crucial balance to the board as a resident of the northern region of Curry County. Addressing the county's housing situation is on every priority list from the governor to our local mayors. it is not the only priority, but it is the highest priority. The lack of a plan and a solution will be a detriment to our county in the very near future. I am willing in any way to assist in this endeavor. Our future depends on our ability to house families, workers, seniors, veterans, and the disabled. There can be no homelessness if everyone is housed. The overall health of our county, including businesses small and large to employ and retain needed staff, is critical to our future. We have a much-needed opportunity to reset the Board of Commissioners. Should you consider to select me as the next Curry County Commissioner, my first priority is to improve the public's trust and confidence by working together with you as a team of commissioners and together with the citizens that I like to call us Currygonians on focusing on the future rather than digging into the past. I appreciate and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Mary Pat Lutke-Stallman.
Yes. Yep. So can you share? You guys can share?
Yeah, I think that would work.
Yeah. Does that work, Eric?
How's that? Hold on. Okay, I'm short, but I'm not that short.
Yeah, I think you can pull that out.
Let's try that.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I hear you laughing. Okay, you can't hear me. Okay. Yeah. All right. Hello there. I am not really here to campaign for this job. It's not something that I really want. I do not want this job. I would like you instead to be thinking about representation. I am here with the intention of running, yes. Good. So I came here to,
Let me speak for myself. Can you hear me? Okay, so you cannot understand me. It's fine. Can you understand me?
Yes.
Okay. So, some people are going to have a hard time understanding me, so that's why I wanted to have an interpreter here today. But I am here today because I want to talk about representation. It's really important to me that people with disability, I know that some people here identify as a person with a disability. However, there are also something called an invisible disability when people, like for example for myself today, I came here, I wanted to run, but the first thing that I did was I had to come to your office and ask for an interpreter. And then I was told, well, maybe I can't provide an interpreter. Can we do this through email? Is that equal representation? Is that giving me answer? So does the county truly understand what kind of things that people with disabilities need? Do they truly understand what it takes to come up here and talk with a speech impediment? I mean, I understand that I've been marked for it. Most of you know me. Here's the reason why you know me, because I hosted a town hall meeting in June. And during that meeting, I faced a lot of discrimination. And it was humiliating. And nobody stood up for me. Nobody. None of the commissioners that were there stood up for me. Nobody told people to stop. So what I implore you to think about that when you pick someone today. Think about truly we need someone that's going to be sensitive to the senior citizens that are going to need better auxiliary equipment with access to these meetings, or they're truly going to think about what can we do as a community to support them, like myself. I mean, I want to tell you right now, our county is fantastic. The community, they've learned thank you. I go to McKay every day. They say thank you to me when I check out my partner's stuff. We like to hear. But on the county level, on the city level, it's been harder. It's a lot harder to get that kind of support, that kind of access. And I know that multiple people with disabilities have come to me and complained to me about it. Not because I can do anything about it. I can't. I really can't. But I also want to talk about the fact that we have two white men sitting here. I just listened to someone talk about how they stand against the Black Lives Matter movement. Well, guess what? The country, as a country, we really need to come together and work together. We need to think about what does every citizen of Curry County deserve. They deserve representation. They deserve respect. They deserve to know that they are going to have that support from the commissioner. I would prefer you to pick a female. Because as of right now, how are you going to talk about reproductive rights? How are you going to work with the hospital about women being abused? I know that Brad and yourself have experience working with people who have been battered women and children. That is important to me. That is really important to me today, that you think about those things. We have people that are not being represented on the council. I'm not here to criticize you. I'm here to ask you, please think about making sure that people like myself, maybe you're not going to pick me today, and I don't expect you to, but I ask that you think about picking someone that does not look like you, someone that is not like you. There are many men here today, and I'm sure they're more than qualified, but come on, we need equal representation, not just county-wide, but also thinking about all those that live here, women, children, people of color, people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Womack.
Okay, hold it. It's 10:32. We're gonna take a 15-minute break, so we'll meet back here at 10:47.
10:47.
Well, let's say 10:45. You okay with 13-minute break, JJ? So 10:45, please. He can't.
Yeah, we'll definitely need to.
Well, I can also do remote.
Oh, okay.
Interpreting
Okay.
with some technical, just way beyond me.
Okay, well, we have some people, it's way beyond me too. I can only like bang rocks together, but we have people that can do it.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started again and had a good break, so it's time to get rolling. So we got one more, David Womack. Come on up.
Thank you, Commissioners. Why would I make a good county commissioner? Well, I've given this question a lot of thought. I possess a good communication set, and I like to look at each challenge from every angle that I can see, and a few that I can't. I like to get each individual's point and research as much as possible each situation, so I have a complete confidence in the choices that I make. These skills have helped me to achieve 2 associate degrees and several certifications throughout my life. I possess great leadership skills, gifted to me by the United States Army. When I was deployed during the invasion of Iraq, my senior leadership decided to retire or was removed from command for conduct unbecoming. Because of this, I was placed in charge of 44 lives. Each day for an entire year, I ensured that their morale, their health, and their ability to perform their duties was capable, and that each of my members received their pay. And if they did not receive their pay, that they did not work. I was able to make sure that each one of them was able to contact loved ones, families, and friends at home, even if it meant borrowing a satellite phone from a civilian contractor from time to time. I'm proud to say that each one of us made it home. And even though I was only a specialist, I was placed as a quick reaction force team leader. I was placed in charge of $1 million equipment. and had to work in a position of an officer's slot. This meant I would review after-action reports, enemy movements, patrols, ambushes, and other items to the head of command of my battalion and the division. In 2004, I was forcibly retired from the United States Army. At that time, I didn't see a whole lot of point in anything. During the COVID lockdowns, I worked with HP in their technical support, where I was responsible for making on-site decisions that would affect global corporations and their work capabilities while creating relationships with these companies to ensure their productivity. Most recently, though, I've worked with the United States Postal Service as an Amazon deliverer in both Curry County and in Coos County. This role requires me to make on-the-spot decisions regarding package weight, placement of packages on site, and how to best use my limited amount of time to ensure the most packages were delivered for the rural carriers and the regular carriers so that they weren't out delivering well into the night. Part of my duties as a postal employee was to open the local stations, receive and log the mail shipments, sort them, evaluate each route for the most effective use of my time. For me, this position is a chance to give back to the community that, after my military service, left me a feeling of home and safety and peace. I spent many years traveling throughout the world and the United States searching for this, and it wasn't until in 2008 that my wife brought me to Gold Beach that I had an overwhelming feeling of connection. Since that time, Curry County has become my home. My children live here now. Some of them have gone to school here. One of them is a teacher here now. 2 of my grandchildren have been born here. And for me, this will always be everything to me. Now I have a chance to give back to my community. I just want to say thank you for your time and your consideration for this appointment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I propose that we just start at the beginning.
Okay.
And run through.
Sure.
Christopher Pash, if you would like to answer our question, if you'd like to, what are the biggest problems facing Curry County and how do you propose to solve them? And you've got 3 minutes. Well, it was ringing.
Oh, okay.
Eric, there's one light on and one light off. One of them's red and one of them's not. So what does that mean? A little short
Turn
one.
one off? Okay. What are the problems facing Curry County? Well, I think we all know of 2 or 3 of them. Probably the first thing that we're asked to do in our oath is to protect the people of this county. And that should be the first and foremost thing that we do as a commissioner. Commissioners aren't the boss of anyone. Commissioners are to set policies. Commissioners are to make sure that the citizens of this county are protected. And commissioners are to make sure if they're liaising a department that they give everything that they can to make that department succeed. We're not anyone's boss. We have to find ways to form relationships with officials and people in our community to get things accomplished, like housing, which is probably one of the biggest crises we face right now. It's not only housing for workforce, it's housing for our veterans. It's housing for senior citizens that live on $1,100 or $1,200 a month, and the cheapest one-bedroom apartment or studio apartment you can find in this county is $900. Doesn't leave you much money to do anything else. So We have already built relationships with some people in this county, and we are doing things to move that forward, and I will continue to do that if you select me today or not. Law enforcement is probably the biggest thing that I see as a problem in this county. We must find funding for law enforcement in perpetuity, whether that be a special district for law enforcement, and we all know how much I think about more special districts in this county. But we also could look at, a bond. We could look at a tax levy, which I don't think would ever pass, but we need to be creative, form relationships, whether that be through grants, whether that be through the type of funding whatever type of funding it would require, we need to find that. And that should be the major thrust of the Board of Commissioners. The other things are ancillary. Running the county, setting policies, having those relationships with your department heads, yes. We have to find a way to fund this county. It's not a spending problem in Curry County, as many say. It's a revenue problem. I've been on the budget committee, as we all know, and we all know it's not a spending problem. There's so many of our departments need so much more. We need to find those dollars. Another big thing that we need in this county is civility. We need to have commissioners that can sit next to each other and talk and work together. And even though we disagree, we walk out of the room and shake hands. Commissioner Herzog, you and Commissioner Boyce voted to remove public health, mental health. A lot of people would have been very angry about that. I wasn't. It was a decision you guys made I disagreed with, but that's what it takes to be a commissioner. We have to learn to get along and work together, and that's why I'm standing back here now, is because I believe that the thorn has been removed from my foot, and I believe that the two men sitting up here right now, as we've proven in the past, can work together well. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Bednansky.
The biggest problem, probably be plural problems. To make a tree grow, you got to give it water. Okay, if you guys are going to get anything done here, the first thing to do is to be able to have three guys who can get along together, have some commonality, some insight, but at the same time, understand that we're here to serve, but to lead too. As far as the second issue, I would say it's pretty obvious. Read the newspaper, it's the deficit. And fixing the deficit is not an easy thing to do. It requires not just getting grant money. I do have experience in getting grant money with our nonprofit 501c3. It's spending wisely. You're involved with the Curry County Electric, and you guys are just now going to have a hearing in Brookings about how to spend money wisely. That's a very admirable thing you're doing there. But one of the things that we should be focused on is bringing more revenue in, not just relying on grant money. One of the things I read in the newspaper recently was that our fishermen come in with their catch, and they sell it to people who take that catch out, even all the way to Japan. There's no processing, nothing done here. There's a lot of sediment, and the reason why the fishermen do that is so they don't have to deal with a lot of different people. That's one of the ways we can increase revenue is by encouraging an industry like that. One of the other things we could do is we have a drug problem. And this is where Commissioner Herzog and Alcorn has already stated, I've read in the newspaper, physical exercise. This is something I think that would be a very good thing to get going in the county, Brookings, Gold Beach, and Port Orford. I was, at a young age, I encountered my first Marine at 16 years old. It was in PE class, and he barked orders, and I was kind of a leader guy back then, and I didn't take orders, and so 100 push-ups. And well, ever since then, I've been, you get that actin and myosin going, and then you have those endorphins from the burning of the muscle. You get addicted to that after a while, and I've done that all my life, and I know what it can do good for people. I think that would be great to try to do something to get something like that going in the county, to give the young people somewhere to go. For example, Scott Metcalf from the sawmill, He was working hard over there, so was his father. They're strong guys. He was, Scott was in the foot, okay, it's up to me. But anyway, you get the gist of what I'm
You got 1 minute.
Oh, I have 1 minute,
Yeah.
okay.
30 seconds, I'm sorry.
jumping the gun, I better not waste.
Thought it was a
okay.
minute.
But in other words, the idea of physical exercise builds a strong mind and strong body. And I think that would be good to it's an initial thing to help to deal with people that are homeless and drugless, drug addicts, but the ones that are really that deep, like you've seen on the police force, there's not much you can do about them, but we can do something for the young people. Yep. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Nick.
Terry Hughes.
Hello again. To pick one thing that I would choose to fix, I can't really pick one because we're a county and we have multiple problems. So I think what it comes down to is public safety would be one of my biggest concerns, because if you don't have public safety, you don't have people that want to live here. And if you don't have people that want to live here, then you don't have tax revenue, which I understand this county depends on quite heavily. Looking at that, 45% of our population and property taxpayers are elderly, and I say that lightly.
And looking at me.
What are we going to do? What are we going to do in 10 years when a lot of those people are gone and the real estate business is still as it is and unstable? You know, how are we going to pay for our county when we don't have those taxpayers? What are we going to do for housing? We need to create incentivized housing for skilled labor, establish housing through seized properties, and focus on upzoning and creating apartment ideas. We need to really look at that. Our budget, I don't know how you guys do it. You look at it and it's in the negative. We need to create avenues that are long-term and not just for right now, or a bridge to fill in for now until we find some better solution. I'm just going to do this, and it's probably wrong, but I'm going to lump drug addiction, mental health, and homelessness kind of into one big category, and I know it's wrong, but we need to get loud about where are our treatment centers from Bill 110. Why are we not seeing money from our 11 pot shops in Curry County? Where is this money going? Because if you look at the numbers, it's large numbers, and I'm not seeing it. Maybe you guys are. I'm not seeing it. Our law enforcement, recruitment and retainment, and ability and affordability for them to live here it's kind of off the charts. We need to incentivize housing and create housing for families to come here and thrive here and not just survive here. Creating streams of revenue that are long-term funding. You know, we do live on the most beautiful coast in the world, I believe. I've seen a few coasts. And we are underutilizing our venue opportunities. We're underutilizing events to bring to the area where we're not actually inviting people to live here, but we're saying, come enjoy what we have, spend your money here, and then please go home. So there's a lot of things that need to be addressed. But funding is huge, and law enforcement is huge, and all the services that need attention are huge. So that's kind of my idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McDonald had the lead. He
Yep.
spoke to you too.
Yep.
Mike. Jay Trost.
So the biggest problems facing Curry County, well, I'll just say from my time in my involvement in the county and working for the county, the overarching issue that seems to prevent a lot of different progress is budget. A sustainable, long-term budget that allows and affords for 24/7 law enforcement capabilities. That has been the crux, I think, of a lot of division lack of progress, of expended mental energy. I can tell you right now, coming in every year as the juvenile director during budget season, felt like a competition at times. How are we going to make sure that we sell our department the best to make sure that we have the budget? And you feel it's not adversarial, but you feel a sense of enormous stress. Now, that does make people become extremely fiscally responsible, but I think it can be done through grace. I don't think it has to be done through force, right? And so how do we get to a point where we have a sustainable budget? Well, I believe that we need to have a collective effort. We can't have a divided effort. Divided efforts have failed over and over in our county and so how do we start to build trust? How do we put trust tokens into the community? Right? How does that occur? So I mean, I know this is baseline, but I believe that we have to have the foundation to be able to address the bigger issues. As Chris had pointed out, the number one priority of government, in my estimation, is public safety. Right? That's number one. The only thing that can't be compromised is the Constitution. Right? So, but I want to say that the foundational pieces that I believe need to be addressed to achieve these other issues is increased community trust. Increased trust within our county departments. My suggestions on how, potentially ideas, right? More structure within the BOC meetings. Adopting a formal rules of order so that everybody understands what we're supposed to be doing up on that dais. Defining department liaison duties to the T. An annual workshop to establish what county priorities are for the year so that these priorities can be looked at during budget time, and also a tool to guide the direction of the county while allowing room for each commissioner's vision to be valued and worked toward. In addition to this, it gives the board the ability to have a self-evaluation tool to reflect on at the end of the year. Biannual town halls in North County, Central County, and Southern County. And JJ says, you got 3 minutes.
Your cheerleader.
So, thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay. David Gauntlet.
I'm still Dave Gauntlet, and I'm still been blindsided, so I'll do the best that I can. And I forgot to put a little something in my previous response, and that is it would be just simply interesting that when my dad was county sheriff in the 60s, he hired Alan Boyce as his chief deputy, and Alan Boyce trumped him in the primary for re-election, and I just think it would be appropriate that Alan Boyce, having whipped my dad, that I would be following Court Boyce, not whooping him, but just following in. What is Curry County? What differentiates ourselves from beautiful places in the rest of the world? It is beautiful. We have pristine natural resources. We have some of the best recreational opportunities in the country and in the world. This is from Langlois to the Del Norte County line, excluding no parts of the county. And I happen to agree, first, with all the ideas that have already been presented, and that the county collectively, rather than regionally, can solve its problems through data. Of the most importance to the county is the protection of the Rogue River. It was the 5th choice in the 1968 Wild Rivers Act. we should be proud of that, along with our other natural resources and rivers. In terms of priorities and what I might be able to do to assist the county through the Board of Commissioners. First, as has been stated and is the elephant in this building, we got to figure out a way to balance the books. We can't continue to steal from the road fund to balance the operating fund, because someday we're going to have to pay back the road fund, and I'm running out of time very much more quickly than I expected. The county is a service provider. The county brings in income from many sources, tax, grants, the feds. Dad, when he was deputy assessor, said, David, someday the O&C funds are going to run out and this county is going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. Well, he was right. Yeah. And all right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a lot more to say.
Val Early.
So I thought of a lot of questions that were going to be asked, and this wasn't really the one. So, you know, to address what I see as Curry County's issues, I mean, there are so many issues within our county right now: homelessness, affordable housing, difficulty getting a house built, support for families, children, seniors, and veterans. All of those are very big issues. The number one issue is law enforcement. We need to figure out a way to fund our law enforcement, because that's a mandated service. We have to provide a jail. That's one of our mandated services. So the other part of the problem with the law enforcement is that they're dealing with so many issues within the community, and they have a shortage of officers. And so we need to figure out a way to be able to attract more officers to come here and to stay here, and not to transfer out to another community or to another agency. Teen suicide is really big here, and that is a big problem for our law enforcement, with also fire backup on that. So, and our EMT services. How can I solve this? I can't solve that today. I can't even begin to solve that today. But I can say that I think it's going to take a lot of collaboration. I think it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to mean, you know, figuring out a budget and a way to live within our means and provide those mandated services. The taxpayers, the citizens, they all depend on us for that. I'm dedicated to hard work. I research tremendously, and so, you know, I would bring that to the table. I would start to look for that immediately. I already really did, so. I have a really strong work ethic. I'm willing to put in a lot of hours, and I love to research and find community solutions. I would reach out to other communities that are also in this same situation, see what they have done, see what worked for them, what didn't work for them. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can tap into our department heads. We can tap into the departments that we have. We have a lot of really dedicated employees here, and they all have ideas. How can we cut? How can we fund? Those types of things. And so I think that between the collaboration with those, that would help also. We have incredible citizens here. I mean, you're seeing just a handful of us here today, but there are a lot of people here with a lot of really great ideas. And so it would take some time to reach out to the communities and see what their solutions are. But I think that the first and foremost thing that we need to do is we need to balance our budget, we need to live within our means, and we need to provide mandated services first and foremost. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't want the buzzer to go off.
Glen Falls.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everybody else. The budget is the key factor, you know, with the county and trying to keep everything rolling. And every county has the same type of issues. There's never enough money to fund everything, and dollars have to be scrimped and so forth. You know, being in law enforcement for as long as I was, I realized how important it is to have a strong law enforcement backbone. It really is where the rubber meets the road. in society. When I came up here and found out they were only working a certain number of hours a day, I was quite literally shocked, because crime doesn't stop at a certain time in the night. In fact, it actually will get worse if there's no protection. And then another aspect of it was the fact that there was like one guy on, and he was running from the north end of the county to the south with backup, maybe. I mean, it wasn't even a given. And I don't know, maybe if law enforcement is so strapped, maybe we need, working lieutenants, working sergeants, people that are out there in the field instead of in the office, just put everybody out there on the street to help with the load. I know they all roll whenever something happens, and you see them racing across the bridge, but, it's a little different, putting on your belt and taking off rather than being out there and, showing a visible presence. I agree with the one applicant who says that mental health, drugs, and homelessness are all tied together. I mean, you can't separate them. And the fact that we have a state where we allow people to carry drugs and use drugs and without any type of ramification is only saying, hey, everything's cool, let's do it. And we're probably attracting people from other states even by having that type of posture. And I just, it's unbelievable to me. There's very few addicts out there that are going to seek help on their own. The ones that get help are the ones that are court mandated to get help. And I watched drug court down where I was at, stuff many times. And, unless you have somebody with a thumb on the situation saying, hey, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen, it's going to get nothing but worse. So those are main concerns of mine, as a county resident here. I mean, I really see, stepping things up to try to make things a little bit better. And I know a lot of the problems are at the state level, just maybe, sending letters and, trying to get support from your other counties to kind of push to take basically the streets back. When you have an issue with drugs and allowing drugs, and they've already admitted at the state level it's not working. I mean, we lost 2 officer positions here at the county for funds for drug addiction people, which we don't have either, and it's just ridiculous. And I know I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Carl Popov.
Well, to begin with, I don't think that many people understand that the Sheriff's Department, well, the sheriff is only really mandated to do 2 things: maintain the jail and be a process server. The very fact that we do have the law enforcement protection in the county that we do now is a tribute to many, but I think most importantly to John Ward, who, by the way, was indeed a new recruit when I was a chaplain in the jail. But at any rate, the first problem we've got, and I've already alluded to it, is the fact that we need to show unity within the leadership of this county. We need that desperately. I think you 2 gentlemen are well on the way to achieving that, and I certainly hope and pray so. The other thing, too, law enforcement, what have you, definitely I agree wholeheartedly with all of that. Stop to think about what our natural resources are. I had to do this as mayor a long time ago. And for those that weren't here and don't know the culture of Curry, Coos County, and what have you, we were a timber-based society. And we were also as far as fishing and what have you. When they took away the logging, for the most part, they developed a void that we have not truly been able to fill since then. All right. So I started to think, what are our natural resources? What do we have that we can build upon? What do we have that eventually we can draw some taxation from? Well, first of all, one already knows this. We have our beautiful scenery. We have the outdoors. We have the Rogue River. We have an opportunity, and we have the Chetco. We have all of it, and Sixes, and what have you. We've got all of this throughout our county. Okay, first, develop, and this is one of the things I hated to go through to begin with, more on tourism. Get people here. The second one, and as you may find this humorous, second one is our old people. When I was mayor, I got a letter across my desk from the Census Bureau, United States Census Bureau. It said that Curry County was the fourth oldest, and I'm talking about a generational, as far as age, county not in Oregon, in the United States. There were 2 in Florida and 1 in Arizona that were older than what we were. Now, I do not know how this has changed since then, but, and I worked hard, went to Salem to make sure that we got our new hospital. But the point is, and I'm going to make this real quick, let's do whatever we can to enhance the safety and the welfare of our senior citizens so they don't have to go out of the county. We lost $90-some million. Thank you.
Thank you. Brett Cecil.
Thank you, commissioners, for your question. I mentioned in my introduction that I had an opportunity to run a campaign that was multi-county here in the state of Oregon. And that gave me a great opportunity to meet a lot of people face to face and to hear a lot of not only Currygonians' concerns and their ideas, but Coos County and Douglas County as well. The one thing that I heard more than anything was housing. And we know that we have a housing shortage, and Curry County is probably the worst of the 3. And that encompasses our homeless issues and retention of staff and employees for our businesses. Our businesses can't thrive if they can't staff up. When I moved to Port Orford, I started looking for a place to live. I currently live in my RV still because I could not find a place that was suitable for me and affordable for me to live in. But I was told that a police officer had been hired right before I'd moved there. And he and his family were living in an RV because they couldn't find a place to live. He ended up quitting and moving on because they couldn't get settled in Port Orford and Curry County. So I think housing is something we really have to look at. I know we've got some really, really smart people sitting on the panel up here that know how to take care of these things, and there are some projects, I'm sure, working in the background, and a lot of really well-informed people in non-governmental agencies in the county and surrounding counties that can help with this. Our new governor, Tina Kotek, her first, well, 3 of her first executive orders have to do with housing. So she's putting money out there. There's concern that it's not being identified and set up where it needs to be, but we're trying to work on getting that straightened out. My other biggest thing and concern that we have with is revenue for our county. Our safety departments, our road departments, all those things depend on our revenue, and that's where we're going to have to work. And I know both of you have been through more than a couple of rounds of budget committees. I sat through the one last year. And the issue is not about how it's spent. I agree. It's just that there isn't revenue there to work with. So we've got to find some way to develop that. I think we can do it. So again, thank you for having me here and considering me for this position.
Thank you. Mary Pat Ludke-Stallman.
Hi. Yeah. So, can you hear me? Yes. All right. The biggest problem we have is people react. We are reacting to every problem we have. We do not have any plan. What are we doing to plan? What are we doing to be proactive? We need to be proactive. We are in a deficit funding. We have no money. So we are reacting. We are number 1 in the state for suicide. What are we doing? We're reacting. We have lost several important industries in our county. Timber, fishing. We still have tourism. But what are we doing? We're reacting. We're giving all of our tourists housing that we should be giving our people. What are we doing? We're reacting. So I feel like that our biggest problem right now is that we are all reacting to everything. We need to take a step back and make a plan. we need to be more judicious than that. We tell responsible business owners that, we tell nonprofits that, we say, okay, we need to have a judicial plan. We need to support law enforcement. We need to support the community in providing jobs. We have jobs. We have no people. People don't want work. They want to work, but they can't find housing. Now, myself, I work for a nonprofit, and I have seen this problem where we hire people, we let them go, or they quit because they can't find housing, they move out of the area. And it is not a good feeling. It is not something that we should continue to do. So we need to be more proactive. Stop reacting. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. David Womack.
Thank you, everyone. Everybody's brought up pretty much the same problems. There's no funding, there's no housing, there's a lack of police presence and ability, and I agree. The housing situation is insane. More than half of my disability check goes to rent. That's crazy. My children, when they first moved here, they had to live with me for several months before they could find a home, and they barely make their bills. Yeah, a big problem is finding revenue in this county and then keeping it in this county. But a bigger problem for me, or to me actually, is that the children here don't want to stay here. It's easier to find work other places, Portland, other states. It's easier to find housing elsewhere. And this has to change. We have to have programs that encourage our children to learn more technologies, encourages our children to stay away from narcotics and become members of the community and want to stay in this community. And part of that is encouraging technologies to come here. Not necessarily build large call centers and complexes, but remote work from home is an awesome thing for us. It keeps our small community, it keeps our small towns, but it lets us be out in the world. That's how I would solve more of our problems, really. This would bring in revenue and keep revenue here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes the question period. Now it is up to the commissioners. We do not, there was talk that there was, that they would go into executive session, but there's not that I can find an exception to the public meeting rule for that, so the deliberations will have to happen out here.
Well, I first of all want to just say thank you for all of you folks. Brett Cecil, David Gauntlet, Mary Pat Lutke Stallman, Christopher Pash, David Mednansky, Teresa Hughes, Glenn Falls, Jonathan Trost, Jonathan J. Trost, Valerie Val Early, Carl Popoff, James McDonald, David Womack. Thank you for your involvement, for the passion that you want, it's not easy to come up and do this. It's not easy to sit here, but we do it because we love Curry County, right? And so I just wanted everybody to know our appreciation and just thank you so much for your involvement and just your reaching out. And I know Brad's probably the same way. I mean, this is a very good and very hard decision to make, but we have a great bunch of names here to pick from. So thanks again.
So I too would say thank you to everyone for having the courage to do this. It's not an easy thing to do by any means, to get up here and personally expose yourself and your family. I just went through a year of that, so it's challenging to say the least. When Commissioner Pash and Sheriff Ward asked me to run for this office, they told me it would be difficult. and I've done a lot of difficult things in my life, and this is my third BOC meeting, and they're right. It's difficult. There's a lot of adversity, there's a lot of difficulty, there's a lot of challenges, but I knew that going in, and I am very committed to the challenge. I wish there could be an election. I wish there could be, but we have to follow our state's rules, our state's guidelines, and that means that we have to make a selection. That selection needs to be a person that we feel has the qualifications, and also a person who we can both agree on, obviously. I'm very inspired by the number of people that that put in for this position, and I hope that is a sign of the future, because having been on the city council, looking to fill our board, budget committee positions, our Parks and Rec committee positions, we always struggle to do that, and I hope this is a sign of the future. And I also want to point out that we if anybody's not selected today, we have budget committee openings. We are taking applications still till the end of the month, and I think there may even be some other positions in the county that need to be filled, and I would encourage you to take a look at those, because we need diversity and we need input on those. I also want you to know, all of you to know, what factors that I'm taking into consideration here to make this difficult decision. Community input, emails, phone calls, text messages about the various candidates, people supporting, people not supporting. Literally, while I'm sitting here and you all are giving your presentations and answering questions, I'm getting text messages and emails from people who are watching live. So, it continues right up till the last minute. That input is critical to me, because that is our community. It's what it's their voice. I also put a lot of weight in letters of recommendations. That's very important to me. And there are some critical ones in this selection process. I also lean heavily on my own personal observations and interactions. That's what kept me alive in my 34-year career, was paying attention to small details in my situational awareness. And I'm in tune with that right now for sure. So as I process through all of that information and going back over my notes, I'm narrowing the list down to really two people, John. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know where you're at, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Well, yeah, it's just a tough decision. I'm definitely not going to put this in the hands of our governor or anybody. I know that Brad and I can come up with a person that's on this list. It would be nice if we could have 14 commissioners. We'd have to build a bigger room here, and we can't, you can tell by what we're sitting in that we don't have the nicest hearing room in the state, but yeah, there's 2 or 3, and without meeting in executive session and doing this in the public, I would just entertain a motion, and that's well, I'm just talking to you, Brad, saying that you tell me who you think, and either we'll agree or disagree, or talk about it, or?
Okay. Well, have you narrowed your pool of candidates down to a couple names?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So I have two, and I'll just put those names out there right now. And that is former Commissioner Chris Pash. That is one of the names. His experience speaks loudly. And then the other is Jay Trost. And the letters of recommendation, we got the past experience that he has demonstrated in the community.
Yep.
And my interactions with him in various roles, both at the city council and in this position.
Yeah.
He was exemplary in that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And I like both of those names. Carl Popoff is another name I like. I guess there's more than 3 or 4. I heard just so much good stuff from everybody. I love Glenn's talk about, law enforcement and the problems there.
I've actually worked with Glenn.
Yeah, I was wondering, because it said Fresno, so I thought.
Glenn is definitely a man of integrity.
Yeah.
Somebody that we were actually involved in a critical incident together, which was tragic and horrific, and his performance was extremely honorable. And that's why this is so hard. I mean, Glenn's was a great law enforcement officer. But, professionalism is setting your personal feelings aside and doing what is right to accomplish the needs of their communities.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that the county clerk has got a doctor's appointment at 12:30, and if we are going to appoint somebody, we should do it so we can get that person sworn in, because I want to get on with that other part of the meeting, because
turn your mic on.
Wow, you all know where I stand now.
Just leave it on. You don't say.
I keep hitting it.
Thanks for your input, Ted. So that's kind of where I'm at with those names, John.
Well, then I'm going to make a motion that we, as the 2-person board right now, appoint Jonathan J. Trost as county commissioner.
I'll second that motion, John.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
None by me.
Very tough decision. Moving forward, but I just appreciate everybody's input and continued dedication to the county. We have your letters of intent and phone numbers, and I definitely will be reaching out. So right now, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you again, all.
Can we,
Congratulations.
I'd like to get the new commissioner over to the clerk's office.
Okay.
And so maybe we can adjourn this for now and then come back at, you have something going at noon?
I do, at noon.
Shall we reconvene at 1? Will that work?
Yeah.
1:30?
Yeah, we can reconvene at 1.
Okay, let's do that.
Now, we'll do that after. So we'll reconvene.
What? There's only commissioner updates, so you could pass on commissioner updates.
Well, we got to talk about AOCC and.
we want to get that done, and we want to have the discussion with that, so.
So we'll take a break now, walk over to the clerk's office.
We're going to reconvene at 1.
We'll be back here at 1 o'clock. We've had a recess and a lunch period, and we're back in the saddle. We're going to go to discussion items 5 B, we're going to talk about AOCC. Welcome newly appointed Commissioner Jonathan J. Trost, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah, right out of the fire into the frying pan here is what we call this, from the cheap seats to the cheaper seats.
The hostile crowd.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to. Oh, I was like, where was that coming from? You know, I just want to say I have not seen a county commissioner appointment, and I don't know the last time it happened in Curry County, but I will say that the process was very clear, transparent, and appreciated that. It was very easy to understand. The expectations of what was to be presented was very clear.
Good.
And I think it allowed for a lot of people to prepare appropriately. So thank you.
Great turnout, yeah. So, jumping right into it, Brad, you got anything to add?
No,
Okay.
but before we start talking about AOCC,
Okay.
Maybe if you don't mind, for anybody watching, just for full transparency, maybe just give a little description to the public.
The public for
about what exactly is AOCC and
Okay.
and what's the role of the commissioner that we're talking about here.
Okay, so AOCC is the Association of California Counties. So they're ONC counties. So you'll see those signs every once in a while, and traveling on a highway, you're in an ONC county. So there's, I don't know, I've been to half a dozen meetings, but I really don't know the number, 7 or 8 counties in Oregon: Douglas, Coos, Curry, Josephine, Jackson. Is that 5?
I think Lane.
Lane.
I think Lane's
Lane. Maybe, and I think Siskiyou County in California. I don't know the other counties that still get some money from timber receipts. And Dave, do you know any more about where that money comes from? So
A lot of it now comes in PILT form, correct?
Yep.
Payment in lieu of?
Payment in lieu of taxes.
Because, yeah.
We lost all that. Yeah, we lost those taxes on timberlands and
So the ONC lands are managed by BLM, I think.
Yes.
So they're state lands essentially that
or federal.
Well, they're federal,
Yeah.
but they were granted in return for railroad right-of-ways.
There's a huge battle with that because whenever there's a fire or anything, BLM doesn't do anything with their land. They let turn your mics on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. They'll let trees just rot, and then there's a huge discussion about logging BLM country or land and the amount of percentage of land that gets to be logged, because all that helps the ONC counties in revenue. And it was mentioned in the earlier interviews that when we lost those timber funds, Curry County lost a huge revenue source that put us in the position that we're in right now. And that's what we have to try to retrieve.
Go ahead. I just need some clarification on my end. So my understanding, and Ted, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been here forever. So the ONC agreement was with the federal government to allow for transportation to come through and management of those lands, and they would provide money back in the form of timber receipts. And then one of the most impactful days of my youth, I sat on the Senate floor with my grandpa when he was lobbying about the spotted owl situation, because I come from Burns, and our whole community was funded by the mill. And
that was the start.
And that was the moment that I realized that one decision, the ripple effects of every decision has incredible effects. And I was very young at that age when I was sitting there watching that, not really understanding the magnitude. And so that state decision overrode the federal ability to continue to harvest that timber property. So the legal battle, from my understanding, is that they're going after the federal direction. They always point back and say, well, it's your state that is preventing it from occurring. And when Lane went after a lawsuit against the state to be able to log these lands, the state Supreme Court shut it down. And in the meantime, we've learned that the spotted owl was never in danger due to the cutting of old growth timber, but actually its natural predator, the barred owl, which has proven to, because the spotted owl numbers have not increased since these decisions have been made in 1990.
Right.
And so the battle continues.
So your assessment and description is right on, and those timber receipts are essentially our road funds. That is where we got our road funds from, and it's what funded this county. It is the majority of the funding. And if we could get back 30% of that, 30% of that would be a game changer for this county. And my understanding is this is the organization that is advocating and communicating in efforts to try to basically do that again.
Get that percentage up that we can log and get those receipts from,
So this is really important.
Yeah.
It's the assignment is critical. So.
Well, I can tell you this one's near and dear to me because I watched it destroy our community, and it's destroyed multiple small unit communities to the point where those mills are not even resurrectable.
Right. When you think about Port Orford, Gold Beach, the only way Brookings is because the Fowler family
bought
property.
Bought property.
And had their own land to log and still do.
Right.
But I will make one little caveat to your remark, Brad, was that's why the road funds were at where we're at. And because they had, Curry County was rich. And the past roadmasters saved money.
Right.
And whereas the commissioners, we got to put some, the blame on where it belongs. The commissioners, that's how come we have 48 or 46 special districts. We had money.
Yeah.
And no thought of, did you say something about, the downfall was the spotted owl, but if we, not saving, we better start saving, or somebody said that we, instead of forming all these special districts when we were rolling in the dough,
right?
So that's the consequence of, past commissioner boards.
Right. Sure, and the other natural consequence was the to be able to afford to have one of the lowest property taxes in the state.
Right. Yep.
And so, it's no secret that our natural resources are under attack.
Right.
Sure.
That's something else to keep in mind when I'm David Barnes, County Treasurer. There's also pressure right now from environmental groups. The way the original PILT laws or the ONC rules were written was to maximize return. And there are several environmental groups that I read about a few months ago that are saying that to maximize it, it should be left in its natural condition. They're arguing it from the other point of view instead of from a financial point of view, that we get great benefit from having these forest lands left in their natural conditions. So whoever takes this on, that's going to be one of the battles that you face when you come to this. Right now we're getting about $1 million a year, give or take, that still comes in from PILT money. A discussion that I had with the former assessor. PILT stands for payment in lieu of taxes. Well, if we're not getting payment in lieu of taxes, why aren't we getting tax money?
You know, if we're not getting it in lieu of taxes, we should be getting taxes. And
Or the same amount.
Somehow or another. Jim and I discussed this a couple of times, and Jim said we can't tax the federal government. But I don't see why we can't try. You know, we do have, it lands within our county, it's within our state. I believe that, you know, if we don't, I'd like to see us try to do something. You know, this is, like everybody knows, this was our lifeblood for many, many decades, and we don't have it anymore, and it's part of the reason that we're in the problem that we're in. So, but I just want to bring that up. Thank you.
Well, and ONC counties did have a lawsuit, right, Ted, against the federal government, and won to some extent, but the percentage that we get to log is so minuscule.
And it's just a constant battle every single time.
Yeah.
And they fight you on every sale.
Yeah. So
anyway, were you looking for somebody to take that spot? Now, how often are the meetings? I don't know.
6 meetings a year, including their annual meeting. Farthest one away, Rocky said, would probably be the Portland area. So like the 2nd of March, there's a meeting in Medford. So that's Jackson County. I have been to, you know, we had the fires when I first started, and I went up there and I, you know, did a tour of the fires and the ONC meetings. I think I've been to a half a dozen in 2 years. I would throw my name in because logging is, I mean, you know, if we could get any, and I think all three of us, any three of us are pro timber. I mean, that's
of course, and you know, this is something that I campaigned on. This is potentially a long-term solution for this county in funding, and so whoever is in this position has to ring that bell loudly and be a strong advocate for getting that money back. And like I said, even you know, talking with Dave, the treasurer, you know, even 30% of what we used to have would be
a
tremendous amount, and in today's economy, it would be a huge change. So I know that there is a learning curve here in the intricacies of this committee. I know you've been to several meetings. I also know that Jay is very up to speed on this. So I'm going to pull my name out of this because I think the two of you are probably more up to speed on what's going on, and I think that either of you would be a good choice. I do want to make my expectations clear, though, and that is we got to change things, you know, and be as impactful in that position as you can possibly be.
Well, I can say, this is definitely a topic that I'm very passionate about, and have been for a long time, and so I mean, I'd love to do it.
Okay.
If that was, you know, good with you two, but being my first assignment, it would be very meaniful.
Yeah.
Because this one means a lot to me.
Well, one of the reasons Rocky wanted this on the agenda today was so whoever gets it can get this packet for the meeting on the 2nd of March, and, you know, gets, you know, have, you know, not be prepared. Meet on the 1st of March.
Probably be good to hook up with Rocky.
Yeah.
Get brief.
Yep.
Whoever does it.
So I hear your, and I say, I'd love to see you do it, so.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it.
And you know Rocky McVeigh.
I do. We've had conversations. I don't know that we've, you know, I don't know him very well personally, but it sounds like I'll get to know him.
Yeah, he was the executive director, and now he's still on their payroll, but Doug Robertson from Douglas County is the executive director. And Rocky, but it still has some, I don't know what his title is. Does anybody know what his title is now?
Well, he was the executive director.
He was
and
executive.
Now he's out. I'm not sure what he is.
Now but he's, I mean, just a wealth of knowledge. And I could introduce you. I've known Rocky since I was knee-high to us. Yeah.
Okay. What is the actual position called, John?
Is it director or representative, I think? Yeah, county representative. I think that's what he called it, was we need a representative to replace Court. Court was the Curry County representative.
Or AOCC.
AOCC, so.
Okay, well, I can make a motion if you're ready to
Yeah,
accept it.
I am.
Then I would make a motion to appoint Jay Trost as Curry County's representative to AOCC.
And I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, motion carries 3-0.
The only thing I have to say about spotted owls, though, is that most of them have been trained by wildlife biologists to be fed by hand. So when you see a small owl and it's kind of uncomfortably close to you, it's probably a spotted owl, and you can feed it a mouse if you happen to have one. I've done it, and there was one that would fly in and land on my D6 when I was logging, and wait for me to feed it, because they're smart. Anyway.
Jeff Fitzgerald coming in with spotted owl knowledge.
And we're supposed to believe that?
It's the truth.
Always coming in with the spotted owl
Yeah.
knowledge. Very much appreciated, Ted.
Okay, that was our really action item that we needed to cover. Commissioner comments. I'm first on that. All I can say is today was a good day. It was a tough decision, but it was made. And just thank all the interviewees again for their dedication and passion for Curry County. I'll tell you guys to go look at the south side of it's a separate topic, south side of the sheriff's office. We did the north side, well, I guess it'd be the east side, and now we've done the south side, so along, what's the other street right on the other side of this one? Is that Gauntlet or?
That's Gauntlet.
That's Gauntlet, yeah, Mr. Gauntlet.
There you go.
And it really turned out good. And are you the maintenance, or no, Court was maintenance liaison, so that's you now. So, I'd really like to see just maintenance be able to get this guy to keep going right onto that south side of the courthouse, especially up in the DA's office area. There's a wall there that's like a sponge. It's going to be higher. It's going to be, a little more money.
It looks like it's working, so.
But it looks like it. It's sealing, and it just take a minute and walk around that, and you'll see. Because we probably should have took before and after pictures, but those little eyebrow things, they were just popping off, and so just if we could just keep going, I'm not optimistic about a new courthouse, but I am an optimist, but a realist also. When we start talking about $100 million. But until then, we still need to work on that building, and that would be a good opportunity. And that's all I have to add. Commissioner Alcorn.
I'll be at County College again tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. So I'll be back Saturday evening. I did attend the Brookings City Council meeting Monday night. There's nothing significant to report on any of their action items, and of course continue to have conversations with their liaison, Ed Schreiber, and I did speak briefly and just updated them on we had another overdose in the county related to fentanyl, and did speak to them about the ongoing impacts our county's feeling from the epidemic of fentanyl. And then just had a meeting with the sheriff and our federal law enforcement partners, and we're continuing to work towards putting a plan together and address it. So continue to work towards that. That's all I have.
Perfect. Newly appointed Commissioner Trost, any commissioner comments, updates?
No.
You have 3 minutes, and then the buzzer goes off.
No, I have, I've got a lot to catch up on, a lot to learn, and you know, like again, I just appreciate the process.
Well, if there's anything we can do, we can meet, I mean, can we lead them around and introduce and?
Generally, there's a period of ostracism. And
hazing period?
Yeah, a bit of sort of a hazing period.
Sure.
I experienced when I, as an elected official, maybe you'll be excused from that. I'm not sure. But other than that, yeah, we'll be happy to assist you in any way possible.
Brad will give you a noogie. And,
Gotcha.
No, but welcome aboard. But I think there's an up.
We'll get him the books and stuff. Whatever. Same thing that we got Brad. So.
Yeah.
And you know your way around a lot better than I did when I started, so.
I do. I know the facilities pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll just have to get up to speed on which liaison duties.
We'll give you the
are
list of that, and
I got the budget calendar. Gonna work with Treasurer Barnes to get some information on budget itself, to get up to speed. Yeah, we have, I mean, obviously a lot coming at us.
Fast.
Yes, so.
Yep.
Yep, that's why that making that appointment sooner than later was so important.
Brad will be off to County College, so gonna have to count on somebody else for a few days. Sure you're gonna enjoy that, Brad.
Yep.
Well, if there's nothing else, gentlemen.
All right.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys.